name is Geoff. I've been coming to Harvest for about 2 years, probably a little bit over 2 years. I wasn't saved young. I was saved at 37. If you know me, I'm emotional. I wasn't always emotional. I used to never cry. I was aggressive. And I wrote down some words to who I used to be. It's pretty incredible to know when you look at those words. Then even if you don't struggle with them anymore, or you may struggle with them anymore, it's no longer who you really are. So I'm going to hold them up so you guys can see them. Okay. This is me before Christ. Alright. When I was growing up, I had a lot of depression as a kid. My 6th grade art teacher used to give me cookies because I was so sad all the time. That's a true story. She asked me, "Geoff, why are you so sad? Why are you so depressed?" I don't know. I had an okay childhood, but I had a lot of depression. I had a lot of anxiety. I went to church every Sunday. I didn't really grasp the concept of why I was there. I had no idea. I ended up spending more time drawing pictures on little notepads or on the back of envelopes and stuff, but I went to church too. I was in a youth group until I was about 17. Still, a lot of depression, a lot of anxiety. I had no idea why I was going to church. I had none. I felt pretty unloved. Not that I was not invested into, but through the depression, you get a lot of inward thinking. You're always really sad. You're always thinking about yourself. Depression's a real thing, but I struggled with it for a long time. And when I turned of age, I made my own decisions. I just quit going to church because at the age of 16, I found alcohol. I found it on my own. I wasn't talked to about it. I didn't understand moderation. And what it did was it provided an escape from my life. It provided an escape from the hurt, the pain. But in reality, I was only adding to it. And at that age, you don't understand those things. So I started partying. I partied pretty good. So I would escape. But what that escape ended up doing was it ended up giving me an addiction. But as I was starting to hit about 19 years old, I realized that nothing was changing through any of this. And I felt the need to run away again. I felt the need to run away from my problems. So I escaped again. And I escaped to the Army. And I needed to run away. I needed to get away from my family. I needed to get away from all my problems, but not knowing my problems travel with me. So I joined the Army. The Army promotes aggression. I learned to be an alpha male. Fulfill your mission no matter what the cost. You will do it at all costs. Didn't matter how. You will do it. You will control that situation. You will make it happen. I made it all the way to be a sergeant first class, a platoon sergeant in charge of over 40 people. I have 3 combat tours under my belt. I was very, very good at what I did. I became one of the lead instructors at one of the combat training centers. And there's nothing that anybody could tell me about my job that I didn't already know. I was very, very successful. Controlling, aggressive, my own will equals my success. And those are all things. Failure was not an option. You did not fail. I did not fail. I made it happen. And for 20 years I did this. In this 20 years is when I came to Christ. I've only been out for about 2.5, so go back up 2.5 years. I started coming to Christ during that time, okay? But if you see, all this stuff is still there. I'm still dealing with these things, okay? So I started learning about failure, like really truly learning about failure about 2.5 years ago, which again started my depression all over again, which again started my anxiety. I got diagnosed with PTSD. I started realizing that I felt all alone. I felt like I had nothing. I felt this was it for me. I felt that I should quit trying. I should quit trying to be better. because through all the depression, anxiety, and PTSD, and failing, and all this other stuff, that was it. This is the way I was for the rest of my life. This is who I am. And I believed it. Full-heartedly, I believed it. In about 2015, I came to Christ because all of this stuff, coupled with an addiction of drinking and painkillers and those things, and realizing that thinking this is who I was and this is it, I began giving up. I was hopeless and I was alone. This is the scary part. When you read Drogba, this can happen. I had a plan. I thought that's what it ended for me. In 2014, one of my best friends killed himself. But that's the point where you're broken. Truly broken. No, my prayer wasn't anything fantastic. My prayer to God was nothing out of the ordinary. My prayer was nothing more than, I'll tell you my exact words. God, if you're real, then let's do this. That was it. I didn't get caught up in the words. I got caught up in the moment of knowing where I was. And that's what I think a lot of people need to understand. It doesn't matter about your reality or what you think you are. It happens to know that in the moment of where you're at and needing something more than yourself. And that was my point of understanding that I needed something bigger. I needed something better. Because if I left it at my own hand, that was it. It was going to happen. As you can see, I'm still here. The arrow pointing down, my downward spiral. If I flip this over, you can see the upward arrow. One of the very first prayers when I started really talking to God is I asked God for self-awareness. I said, God, make me self-aware so I know what I'm doing that's wrong, that's hurting myself, so I can be what you want. My addiction fell off December 24th, 2015. The last day I touched anything. Not a sip, not a pain pill, nothing. I touched literally nothing, and I'm still holding on to that day, thank God. What I'm realizing now is like my own will equals my success is a really bad place to be. Because when I fail, I fall into a tremendously terrible depression. Like I've failed my family, I failed the world, I failed my friends, I failed myself, and I go straight into a hole. It leads to depression, to anxiety, to whatever. But if you fail, it's nothing more than a place for growth to happen. It's a place where God can be glorified. It's a place where you can go to God and just be like, God, I messed up. And when you put your faith in God in those moments, and you see it happen, you realize that your own will and your own power is probably not where you want to be. You want to be in God's will and God's power. Because in Christ I can do all things in Christ that strengthen me. It's a true statement. It's more than words. Everything that I've read in the Bible that I kind of read, and it didn't really register for me. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I get that. But when it actually happens in your own life, you're like, oh, I really get that. And this is kind of what's happening in my life. I've read a bunch of the Bible, but it didn't really solidify until I went through the experiences, and I've failed, and I've grown, and I've failed, and I've grown, and God built me in a way where I need to be crumbled. I need to get crushed a bunch of times to understand His way and His purpose. After going through all that, how do I say I'm not loved? I'm loved. Am I really alone? I've never been alone. I'm not a great Christian. I wouldn't even say I'm a good Christian. I just know I want to be a Christian. And I want God to help me along the way. And I want God to continue to bring me to a place that is something that I've never known, something that I've never been, something that opens up my eyes. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so real. I want that. And I can only do that through one way. Because again, if you look, this was my way. This right here is my way. I don't want to be that. He's building my trust in him. And because he's doing all this for me, he's investing in me. He wants me. I have someone to go to when I feel alone. The truth is he still loves me. And this is the part that I love the best. When I feel unwanted, I'm very much wanted. Because God wouldn't be taking me through all this stuff if it was not for nothing. It's always for something. He wants me. I think I just need to wrap my head